January 26th, Finance Committee meeting. Committee members present this evening: President Kuchmarek, Councilor Joseph, Councilor Hay, and Councilor Beazall. Also present this evening, Councilors Bean, Hay, Clark, and Tran. We will start with 007-16, in order to accept the gift of $3,000 from Mr. Kenneth Posco to purchase a device enabling the Fitchburg Police Department to connect to the Internet at the Community Center at 150 Main Street. Chief Martineau.
Good evening, councils. In regards to this order number 7-16, Mr. Posco, many of you may know who Mr. Posco is, came to me about a month ago, and he was looking for some ideas to make a donation to the police department. And he said he had a $3,000 gift to give to the police department, and I was wondering if I had a good use for it. Well, that was about the same time we were doing the community center, and so I ran it by him. He thought it was a great idea, and here we are tonight asking for your approval for the expenditure of that gift.
President Hay. Oh, sorry, Councilor Hay.
Thank you,
Sorry.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Posco for his generosity and his concern for public safety in the city of Fitchburg, and thank the chief for hooking up with him and getting the internet down there. I think it'll be a great asset and very helpful.
Yeah, the internet service down there is going to provide me the opportunity to have my police officers actually get online, do their reports right from the community center. They give me more involvement down there to have officers down there on a regular basis. I did reach out to Mr. Posco today. I invited him here this evening just for some recognition. He said he was all set, but I told him that I would be speaking highly of him this evening.
President Kuchmarek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, the work I imagine would be done with our own city's IT staff to make sure it's secure network and done in conjunction perhaps with Fitchburg State, or is that a shared network?
I did use our own IT people. This is an outside vendor that we had to go to.
Sure.
We weren't able to connect through Fitchburg State system. We couldn't enter their firewall, so we had to create a point-to-point connection with the fire department. Chief Boyer was gracious enough to allow us to put in the antenna on his building, so now we're bouncing from the intermodal over to the fire department for connectivity.
Well, again, it's great to see a private citizen get involved and certainly step up and help our department and help our city in this way. So, my sincere gratitude to Mr. Posco for his generosity there, and Chief, thank you and keep up the good work.
Councilor Joseph.
What is the plan on who's going to be in the police center, the community center?
I'm hoping that staff at every shift to have people down there. Our street supervisors have been told to encourage the officers to go down there, do their reports down there. Currently, we have 5 workstations at the police station for officers to do their reports. Now I've created 2 extra workstations downtown, so all the street supervisors have been told, have your route officers stop in there, do the reports down there. We're holding roll calls down there now. We're getting quite a bit of use out of it, just at its very early stages.
Okay, good. Motion to accept those 7-16.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept 007-16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
008-16, in order to approve the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security for 2 grants and their respective approximate amounts and purposes as follows: FY16 Fire Safe Program, $5,937, and FY16 Fire Senior Safe Program, $3,115. Chief Roy.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilors, once again, we applied for both these grants through the State Department of Fire Services, and although the numbers are a little bit less this year, not by much, about $100, $150 on each, we were granted both awards. I gave you a brief handout of the SAFE, what we did with the money last year. Just some of the highlights you can see. We visited 19 first-grade classrooms in the city, taught 452 children. 319 of those kids participated in a coloring page and lettering experience. And also Phil and his SAFE instructors ran a open house at Central Fire Station in conjunction with the Masons, and we assisted at the Long Joe event regarding safety, and also put a seminar on in conjunction with the Autistic Children's campaign. As far as the Senior Safe, we reached out to all the senior citizen centers in the buildings, I should say, in the city, Sundial, Wallace Towers, Daniel Street. And although the attendance is a little bit low with people coming down to attend those, Phil thinks he's going to start working them in so that there's some other event going on at the facility, because it just doesn't drag them down there for an event. So he did work that at one place with a different night that they run to answer questions and answers for concerns at the facilities. But also, he did reach out to another couple other life safety events with living conditions. At Daniels Street, 279 Daniels was very active in this, and this has been a very good program. I think this is the third year of our senior citizens grant program. And there's no match, nothing on the city's part on either one of these grants. The third thing is you can see our safe trailer. I know many of you have seen it at different events. That grant is not here, but we've been awarded the grant, and that should be coming before you shortly. So I added what we do with that. As you all seen it's stored usually at Summer Street Station at John Fitch. It's used regionally with between 32 cities and towns in our fire district, but we manage it for them. As you can see, my office staff does all the scheduling with towns. And currently, we covered it and put it in the, it's in the mart garage for the winter now, just so it gets it out of the weather for the winter. So all three of those grants, I have to give Phil Jordan and his safe instructors credit for those. They do a great job.
We also have joining us Mayor Di Natale this evening. President Kuchmarek.
Chief Roy, I want to commend you and also commend Chief Martineau. You come before us several times a year. You think of these two departments, fire and police, as always being reactive. There's something bad that happens in the community, and that's when we in the city turn to you. But certainly being able to be so proactive and going to the vulnerable populations and being able to educate them on how to stay safe is a tremendous asset to our community. So I think you should be applauded for that, and certainly glad to see that when we have low turnout for different events, it looks like you and Phil Jordan take a look at what can be done differently to increase the attendance for each. So certainly again, I commend you and your department for getting these grants and for doing all this work in the community to provide fire education.
Thank you, Councilor.
We also have Councilor Boschman joining us. Councilor Beazall.
Yeah, I too want to thank you very much for the work that you do. And I can still remember when I was a kid, we had junior fire marshals, and we used to get the badge and the hat and the whole 9 yards. And it was really a big thing. And I think that, I still remember it now, and that was a while back. So it does make an impression on the younger kids. So it's definitely something that's well worth doing. So,
Yeah, just so, and I'm sure most of the councilors know, this is only one piece of what we do for fire education. This is the first graders. We hit the third graders with the Firefighter Fill program, which is an animated program that we send out every year to all our schools. And then we do Fire Prevention Month in October that we hit every school, including private schools in the city, with fire education and fire prevention. So it's kind of a three-prong. We hit them in the first grade, hit them in the third, and then we hit all the elementary schools during the month of October.
thank you.
Motion to approve 0816.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 0816. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. 00916, order to approve the expenditure of funds from the Montechusett Opportunity Council for the First and Railroad Street Playground Improvement Grant in the approximate amount of $17,609 for said purposes of the grant. Acting Director of Community Development, Casassa.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Chair. You may recall a few weeks ago, perhaps a couple of months ago, we were before you with an appropriation request for a $244,000 grant from the state under its park program for the First and Railroad Street Playground. One of the conditions of that grant are that we come up with an appropriate match of funds for the total project. Fortunately, the Montechusett Opportunity Council has agreed to partner with the city to help us meet that match requirement. They received an EPA grant under its stormwater mitigation program, and this is an eligible activity under that program. In fact, they helped with the design, the initial design costs for the project itself, and now they are agreeing to contribute the $17,609 toward the cost of the project. So before you tonight is the request for the acceptance and appropriation of those funds so we can move forward with the project.
Councilor Hay.
Yeah, thank you. Larry, I'd like to make sure that you pass on my thanks to them for partnering with us and for putting in this money. They're putting in 17,609. What does that leave the city with as our obligation?
The total match requirement is 30%, I believe, so 30% of 244 would be about $75,000 or $80,000. We're estimating the project cost to be slightly higher than that amount, so we think the CDBG share that will cover the balance will need to be around $90,000 or so.
Thank you.
I should mention that Jenna David from Mock was good enough to be here with us tonight in case there were any questions.
Thank you.
Councilor Bezal.
No, I just wanted to echo the thank you that Councilor Hay had. And I know there's a lot of people that are very excited about this playground, and they're looking forward to it. So this is a very good thing for us. So thank you very much.
Move 1016 be adopted.
Second.
That's okay.
Motion made and seconded to adopt 009-16. I had two councilors with their hands up who were on the committee.
Yeah.
Councilor Joseph.
When are we expecting to see a shovel into the ground on this?
Well, the answer would be we're supposed to start as soon as possible after the beginning of the coming fiscal year on July 1st. Next week, we're scheduling a meeting of all the concerned parties, including the DPW, for a final design meeting so that we can get bid-ready plans and specifications put together for the project. And we are making sure that the project is sensitive to the concerns expressed by the DPW about trying to keep this park as low in terms of maintenance costs and responsibilities for them as possible.
Okay, so we're hoping to start in July. And again, thank you to Mark for participating. I know they've had a lot of things with trying to get empty lots and things like that taken care of, so I appreciate the work that they're doing. I know that was a concern I've talked to them about a year ago, so glad to see they're helping this project out.
President Kuchmarek.
At the expense of sounding like a broken record, I'd like to convey my gratitude to Mock. They do so many great things in the community, and as yet, further evidence of that. It'll certainly clean up or help to clean up that area and that parcel. And I've heard such great feedback from some of the local residents talking about the excitement to be able to use that park and that land. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve 09-16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to 010-16, in order to appropriate $29,797, charging available funds and crediting accounts as follows: election and registration personal services for $24,484, election and registration personal services overtime $1,940, and election and registration expenses $3,373. City Clerk Anna Farrell.
Good evening, councilors. I think everyone knows we're having a special state primary and a special state election to be held on the same day as the presidential primary. That does mean some additional costs in the election budget. You should all have a spreadsheet that details them. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Motion to approve 010-16.
Motion seconded to approve 010-16. Speaking on the motion, Councilor Joseph.
Are any of these monies going to be refunded by the state for any?
We will petition the state to refund them. I have confirmed with the State Elections Division that the salary amount that would be being paid to the representative if he were continuing in that position are being set aside, and that we can apply to have up to whatever that amount is refunded.
Okay, is that going to go just into the election, or is that what would that funds, or that's just going to general funds?
I believe it would refund the general fund.
Probably. Yeah. There have been times where if there isn't enough money in that budget, the law may or may not allow for us to add it to the budget. But usually we put it in the general fund.
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to approve 010-16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Last on the agenda, 011-16, in order to transfer the sum of $16,000 from police personal services to police other expenses. Chief Martineau.
Good evening again, councils. I'm here tonight asking for the opportunity to transfer $16,000 from our police personal services to our police other expenses. The $16,000 will allow me to continue operating our animal control account. We've had some exorbitant costs this year in our animal control budget, and after reviewing where we were at halfway through the year, it was very evident that we weren't going to make it through this fiscal year. That's when we started rifling through our budget and seeing if there was somewhere within our budget that we could pick up the slack. As you're well aware, this year we did not move forward with a part-time mechanic. We've been doing a lot of our mechanic stuff in-house and outsourcing it, which has proved to be very well for the department, allowing that $16,000 to stay there. That's when I requested the mayor the opportunity to transfer this $16,000 into the animal control account to get us through the rest of the fiscal year.
Chief, I wanted to ask, I'm looking at the status report through the end of December, and I see the animal control officer salary, the overtime look pretty healthy. Animal control supplies, I assume, is the account we're talking about, and that's where we pay the fees out for bringing these animals to these kennels or to these places where they hold the dogs.
Yes.
Through December, we've spent $28,681 against a budget of $35,000, so there's about $6,000 left for a balance at the end of December. The $16,000 request, I'm just questioning, because based on current spending levels, this may go out to almost $57,000 for the year, so the $16,000,
It could.
okay, so,
It could. We, as of today, remaining in our ACO budget, we have $6,318. In addition to that, we have a revolving account that was established for animal control, and within that revolving account, we have an additional $5,398. A combination of those two accounts with the $16,000 should put me somewhere in the area of $27,500. As you made a point, this is all kenneling fees, kenneling fees and veterinary fees. I took this as an opportunity to bring this to Mayor's attention because this is an item that I don't see as sustainable the way we're moving forward now. We do have to finish this fiscal year and pay our bills. At any given time, I have no idea how many animals we're taking in. Currently, we have 5 animals. We just paid our most recent bill to a kennel that we're using in Leominster. We spent in excess of almost $3,000 just this past month. Some months it's as high as $6,000 or $7,000 for kenneling fees. This is something we haven't had to pay in the last 2 to 3 years. If you like, I'd love to go into the history of how we got to this point, but I'll open it up to questions in regards.
my concern is even with the revolving funds, which we would deplete, and what we have in the balance, plus the 16, that may not be enough to cover it based on what we've been trending. So it's possible you may be back before us again or for another transfer or free cash because, I understand the 16 is to carry us a few more months, but it looks like the way we're running right now, that won't even be sufficient. I know that we used to have the kennel, we used to pay for the heating, and we cut all that out. And then, obviously this money we're spending now is for the outsourcing. Considering that we've had sustainable problems in this area of the city services for years now with regards to cost growth, where do you see the future of these services that we're providing, being now that it's within the police control? Because for me, it's getting very concerning how every year we keep blowing through our budgets on this service. So,
If you look across the state, about half your police departments have control over animal control, and the other half are controlled by the Board of Health. What I see the future of animal control in the city of Fitchburg, I think we have a few different options. Our first option is to make sure that I budget enough money to cover us for an entire year of animal control issues, and that's outsourcing all our kennel needs. And that could be somewhere in excess of $70,000 to $75,000. if we can continue to outsource and maintain a full-time animal control officer. The second option is happening in some other cities and towns where they totally outsource the entire process. They hire a private vendor who's not an employee of the city, but as a subcontractor. It's put out to bid. Bids come in, and that person who receives the bid is awarded the contract, usually a 3-year contract, and they're responsible for everything. They're responsible for kenneling. They're responsible for animal control call-outs. They're responsible for all the gamuts that surround animal control issues. The last option that I see that could be viable for the city is that we would build our own kennel. Now, if we go down that road again, where we did have a kennel in Fitchburg at Carol Stacy's, keep in mind that was privatized, and they brought in volunteers. When you're dealing with animal issues, when you bring in volunteers, things happen. If the city decided to go down the road where we do our own kennels, you have to treat it like a business. It's truly a business. You're bringing in these dogs, you're charging so much a day. We could even venture out and to move into some type of collaboration with other cities and towns. For instance, the city of Gardner works together with the town of Westminster and the town of Ashburnham. They have a combined animal control effort up there. The city of Leominster, like I said, they have a privatized gentleman that handles their animal control issues. The city of Marlborough is privatized. So everybody's kind of doing a little different stuff. But those are the 3 options I see for the city. The way we're going now, it's not sustainable. I don't want to come back in front of this body and continue to ask for money, but we just don't ever have an idea of how many dogs we're going to have. I could have 8, I could have 10, I could have 1. It goes from month to month. And like I said, like this past month, we just spent $3,000 on kenneling costs. And I hate to say that, but that was a low month. I've had some discussions with the mayor's office on what's best for the city. What I like to see the future as we move forward with our animal control issues, and I'm open to any and all discussions when it comes to that. But the way we're doing things now, it either has to be budgeted correctly for a foreseeable year, or those other 2 options.
Well, currently, we're probably going to be spending in excess of $125,000 on animal control services. We budgeted $94,000, but with the excess costs, it looks like it's going to go north of $125,000 for the year, which obviously is a variable because some years may be less than others or more than others. The 3 options you mentioned, the third option, I believe, in my case, where I sit, is not an option because we've already tried that and we didn't have much success even in cost. Our costs still kept growing up. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts further down the road on option 2 versus the current option, which is maintaining the status quo, to see if it is cost feasible, because right now we're burning about $125,000.
Based on my short research, reaching out to other cities and towns, we're going to expect to pay somewhere in the range of $125,000 to, I believe the city of Marlborough, their contract is around in excess of $145,000 for animal control issues, everything that's related around it. This is a serious problem. I mean, we have a lot of strays, and we have to do what's right humanely for the animals, and make sure that the residents are protected as well.
I look forward to that analysis in the future when those options are weighed. So, thank you. Councilor Joseph.
I just want to say I'm totally thankful that we have professional people dealing with the animals now as opposed to volunteers. The volunteers' hearts were all in the right place, but our liability as a city was just so far away that we could have had so many problems with the way they were dealing with it. I'm just glad that we have professional people dealing with the animals from the time they're picked up to the time that whatever happens to the animals. There was just so much left open, and we did have some problems, and I'm glad that we were able to get it at least under control. And at one point not too long ago, there was like a subcommittee that was looking at the different options, I thought, and I know that Joel and I were on a committee that we met down at City Hall a couple of times, and that was when we had to change over from the volunteer to something else. But I don't know, nothing ever really became of it. And I'm just trying to figure out, can we get a steering committee or a subcommittee to look at the options to figure out what other people are doing and what would be the best for the city of Fitchburg? Because I think that we really need to address this as soon as possible and figure out the best way to do it, most cost-effective.
I see a 6-month window between now and the new budget season. There has to be a plan in place.
Yeah.
And I'm going to reiterate it again, no matter what we do, it has to be treated as a business. This is $125,000, $130,000 a year out of taxpayers' money, and it has to be handled as a business and nothing less.
You got the salary and the overtime, and that's just escalated to the point of, the overtime for that position is ridiculous. I just think that we just need to get all of that under control and figure out what our plan is.
Just from where I sit, when that analysis is done, I would like to make sure that we include in that analysis, if we were to go to option 2, that was most cost feasible, and provided adequate services, that the savings on the benefits side as well, versus what we budget now versus what we budget doing that, we got to factor those components in as well, if we were to go that other route. Just so we're clear on that. Councilor Boschman.
Chief, I'm gonna ask you a question. My dog gets rude. And the girl comes out to pick up my dog, and we put him in a kennel. Does the residents get charged for that, or I just go down there and pick up my dog the next day? Who pays for that overnight stay? My dog runs away. Somebody calls up, there's a stray dog. The lady comes up and picks her up, brings him down to the kennel. The next day I find out he's down the kennel. Do I get charged for that, or does the city take the tab on that?
Those short-term turnovers, there's usually no charge. What we're seeing here, abandoned dogs that are loose running, dogs that are down at the kennel for 7, 10. I have a dog down there that's on vacation there for the last 6 months. We aggressively are looking for ways to have this dog adopted, but it's challenging. I mean, we have some challenging pets in the city of Fitchburg, so we're aggressively looking for adoption options. So your scenario, Counselor, there probably wouldn't be a charge on the quick turnaround. And that happens quite frequently during the week's time. Our animal control officer will pick up 1 or 2 dogs. They might spend a night at the hotel and there's no charge. It's the long-term ones, the one that's been there since July. That's what's throwing our budget off.
Why do we have them there to July if nobody's claiming them?
That's a longer story. I'll give you the brief analogy for it. The chief of police has the authority to euthanize an animal after 7 days. That's not my goal. Number one, I think we need to work hard to find proper homes for any animal that we take into place. Number two, you won't find a veterinarian to euthanize a dog, nor is it the right thing to do. The right thing to do is what we're doing, actively looking for adoption agencies for the pets that we take in. It's a business, like I said before. It's a business.
I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I may get in trouble. No, that's all right.
Does the kennel do the services with regards to finding an adoptive family?
It's a combination of our animal control officer and the kennel service. We're in constant chatter via social media. You can go on Adopt Mass Pets and you.
I'd hate to, I ask because I really hope that we're not dedicating a lot of our scant resources to trying to find homes and let the professional organization that takes them in handle most of that work.
We do dedicate time to it because the sooner I can get that pet adopted, I'm not spending this money to the house that
they might
pet.
hold it for longer because they're taking the money in, Okay.
So it is on us to get those pets adopted as quickly as possible.
Councilor Bean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can remember the day that Jeff Cherzik had the dog officer transferred from his office to the police department. He was happier than ever because it used to be in the Board of Health years ago.
It's been a hot potato in city government for many decades, and I'm the last one standing.
Right. I appreciate what you're doing. But I just want to echo, I hope as we get into the budget season coming forward, that maybe there are some alternatives or some options you can present to us as we're looking at the new budget coming up. So
I would welcome a committee if this organization, the group of counselors wants to assist me with that, I'm open to any and all suggestions, but this is a hot topic, and
Right.
it has to have the right attention to it.
And it can have pretty bad ramifications if we don't have the qualified people there, as we've seen in the past.
Most definitely.
And other cities have had. So it is a serious problem. And again, like the others have said, I think that option of going out to RFP, looking at having a private organization take it over to get it completely out of our hands is probably the best thing. But maybe there's the regional approach or something. But it's going to be better than what we're doing now because we're just too much spending, and I'm not sure about the control either.
I've contacted several outside agencies about joining into their regional efforts, and quite frankly, no one wants us.
Because we're the big, I hate to say, we're the big dog on in the fight here because we have more
Out-
dogs than anybody else. So I can
Outside
understand it.
of the Worcester Animal Shelter,
Yeah.
we are the big dog.
Yeah. Good luck, Chief. If you need help, we're here.
Counselor Beazle.
Thank you. So, just kind of following up on the private contractor, Chief, do you know, so would they assume all the liability if something were to happen, such as a bite or anything like that? A private contractor, does that fall back to the city part?
That would be spelled out in the RFP. I do have copies of different cities' RFPs and their proposals for privatization, animal control services. Ultimately, in any type of litigation, they're always going to go to the biggest pocket, and guess what? We're the biggest pocket. So I can't tell you that there wouldn't be any liability because I just don't have the answer for you.
Okay, I agree with Councilor Joseph that was always one of my biggest concerns is we have volunteers and people handling dogs who aren't trained, and the liability is always a huge thing. I mean, if somebody gets a dog bite, it could turn into a huge lawsuit. So definitely that would be something that I think we need to look into further. So thank you.
Is before you.
Motion to approve 1116.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 1116. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you, Council.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, councilors.
So, Mayor, how's things going? Better?